How to use Venn diagrams, part 2. In middle school, your lunch table group isn't always the same as your friend group. Like, it's very possible, in fact, it's probable, that you may end up sitting at a lunch table with a bunch of girls that you're friends with, but who aren't necessarily your friends. How you ended up at that table is completely random. Maybe there wasn't enough room at the table with the girls you really wanted to sit with, or maybe you just happened to end up with a group of girls because of the class you had right before lunch. That's actually what happened to me. On the first day of school, Maya, Megan, Lena, Rand, Summer, Ellie, and I were all in Miss Potos's advanced math class together. When the lunch bell rang, we flew down the stairs in a big huddle, not knowing exactly how to get to the cafeteria. When we finally did find it, we all just sat down at a table in a pack. It was like we were playing musical chairs, with everyone scrambling to get a seat. There were actually only supposed to be 6 kids to a table, but the 7 of us squeezed in and made it work. So here's how they sat, noticing that Charlotte's between Ellie and Maya. At first, I thought it was the greatest table in the whole lunchroom. I was sitting right between Ellie, my best friend from first grade, and Maya, my other best friend from lower school. I was sitting directly across from Summer and Megan, both of whom I knew from lower school too, even if we weren't necessarily good friends. And I knew Lena from the Beecher Prep summer camp program. The only person I didn't know at all was Rand, but she seemed nice enough, so all in all, it looked like a totally awesome lunch table. But then that very first day, Summer switched tables to go sit with Augie Pullman. It was so shocking. One second, we were all sitting there talking about him, watching him eat his lunch. Lena said something really mean that I won't repeat. And the next second, Summer, without saying anything to anyone, just picked up her lunch tray and walked over to him. It was so unexpected. Lena, I remember, looked like she was watching a car accident. "Stop staring," I said to her. "I can't believe she's eating with him," she whispered, horrified. "It's not that big a deal," I said, rolling my eyes. "Then why aren't you having lunch with him?" she answered. "Aren't you supposed to be his welcome buddy?" "Doesn't mean I have to sit with him at lunch," I answered quickly, regretting that I'd told anyone that Mr. Tushman had chosen me to be Augie's welcome buddy. Yes, it was an honor that he had asked me, along with Julian and Jack, but I didn't want anyone throwing it in my face. All around the cafeteria, people were doing the exact same thing we were doing at our lunch table, staring at Augie and Summer eating together. We were literally only a few hours into middle school, but people had already started calling him Zombie Kid and Freak. Beauty and the Freak. That's what people were whispering about Summer and Augie. No way was I going to have people whisper stuff behind my back, too. "Besides," I said to Lena, taking a bite of my Caesar salad, "I like this table. I don't want to switch." And that was true. I did like this table. At least, at first I did. But then as I got to know everyone a little better, I realized that maybe I didn't have as much in common with them as I would have liked. It turned out that Lena, Megan, and Rand were all super into sports. Maya played soccer, but that was all. So there was this whole world of soccer games and swim meets and away games that Ellie and I couldn't really talk to them about. Another thing is that they had all chosen to be in orchestra while Ellie and I had chosen chorus. And the last thing, very simply, was that they weren't into a lot of stuff we were into. They never watched The Voice or American Idol. They weren't into movie stars or old movies. They had never even seen Les Miserables, for crying out loud. I mean, how could I have a serious friendship with someone who had no interest in seeing Les Mis? But as long as I had Ellie to talk to, with Maya there to round us out, everything was totally fine by me. The 3 of us would chat about stuff we wanted to talk about on our side of the table, and Megan, Lena, and Rand would chat about the stuff they wanted to talk about on their side of the table. And then we'd all catch up about stuff we had in common: schoolwork, homework, teachers, tests, bad cafeteria food, in the middle of the table. Which is why everything was good, until Ellie switched tables. And now it's just me and Maya. Maya, who was only really fun to talk to when Ellie was there, or if you wanted to play a rousing game of dots. Look, I'm not mad at Ellie for switching tables. I honestly don't blame her. Ever since we heard that Amos had a crush on her, it was like she had gotten a free pass into the popular group. Savannah had asked her to sit with them at lunch and then arranged it so Amos and Ellie sat next to each other. That's how all the couples in the grade got together: Jimena and Miles, Savannah and Henry, and now Amos and Ellie. In arranged group huddles, the popular boys and the popular girls, it was natural that they'd all want to stick together. Nobody else in our grade is dating or even close to dating. I know for a fact that the girls at my lunch table still act like boys have cooties. And from what I can tell, most of the boys act like girls don't exist. So yeah, I totally get why Ellie switched lunch tables. I really do. And I'm not about to be super mad at her like Maya is. It's hard when you've been invited to a better lunch table. There's kind of no looking back. All I can do is sit and wait, talk to Maya, and hope that Savannah will ask me to join them at the popular table someday. In the meantime, I draw Venn diagrams and play lots and lots of dots. So you'll see Lena, Megan, and Rand have sports and things in common. Charlotte has some of those same things, but she hates sports. The only thing they really have in common is that they're not popular and that they like to play the dot game. How a new subgroup was formed. The next day, right before lunch, this note was tacked to the announcement board outside the library. Congratulations to the girls listed below. You've been chosen to participate in Mrs. Watanabe's 1960s dance performance. I've posted a rehearsal schedule on the website. Mark your calendars. No absences, no excuses. Our first rehearsal is tomorrow at 4 p.m. in the performance space. Do not dare to be late. Mrs. Watanabe. Jimena Chin, Charlotte Cody, and Summer Dawson. OMG, I got in. Yay! I was so happy when I read my name on the list. Overjoyed, ecstatic, woohoo! So it was me, Jimena, and Summer? What? Summer? That was such a surprise. I was so positively sure it was going to be Savannah. I mean, Summer had just started taking dance. Did she really beat out Savannah? Oh boy. I could only imagine how mad Savannah was at that. I bet her ew frown stretched clear across her face when she saw the list. And Ellie? Actually, I bet Ellie was somewhat relieved. She would have had a hard time keeping up with Jimena and Savannah, and Ellie never really loved dancing that much. I always kind of thought she was only into it because I'd always been into it. I was happy it worked out for her this way. I mean, she might not act like it, but she's still my best friend. And I was happy for me too, because even though I was hoping to get a little bit closer to the Savannah group, I had also been a little stressed wondering if the Savannah and Jimena pairing would have iced me out. But having Summer in the group along with Jimena, that was going to be awesome. Maybe the combined power of Summer's niceness and my niceness would turn Jimena into one of us. At the very least, it might help keep her from being the mean girl everyone seems to think she is. Not that I think she's a mean girl. In fact, I barely know her. Either way, having Summer be the third girl in the dance made me so happy. I almost couldn't stop smiling all day. How I saw Savannah. At lunch, I squeezed in next to Maya and Rand, who were hunched over yet another one of Maya's giant dot games, which were getting more and more elaborate. So, I said happily, good news, guys. I got picked to be in Mrs. Watanabe's 60s dance show for the benefit in March. Yay! Yay, Maya answered, not looking up from the dot game. That's great, Charlotte. Yay, echoed Rand. Congrats. Summer got in, too. Oh, yay, good for her, said Maya. I like Summer. She's always been so nice. Rand, who was marking a row of boxes she had just closed off with her initial, looked up at Maya and smiled. 15, she said. Ugh, said Maya, grinding her teeth. She had just gotten braces and was making a lot of funny movements with her mouth these days. I flicked my eraser at them. That sure is one intense game of dots you're playing there, I said sarcastically. Ha ha, said Maya, leaning into me with her shoulder. That's so funny I forgot to laugh. The mean girl table is looking at you, said Rand. What? I said. Both Maya and I turned around in the direction she was staring, but Savannah, Jimena, Gretchen, and Ellie turned away the moment I glanced in their direction. They were so just talking about you, said Maya, giving them her dirtiest look through her black-framed glasses. Stop that, Maya, I said. Why? I don't care, she answered. Let them see me. She bared her teeth at them like she was some kind of crazy ferret. Stop looking at them, Maya, I whispered through my own gritted teeth. Fine. She went back to playing her colossal game of dots with Rand, and I concentrated on eating my ravioli. At one point, I could feel someone's eyes burning into my back, so I turned around to sneak a peek at the Savannah table again. This time around, Jimena, Gretchen, and Ellie were talking together, completely oblivious to me. But Savannah was glaring right at me, and she didn't look away when our eyes met. She just continued staring me down. Then, right before she finally stopped, she poked her tongue out at me. It happened so fast no one would have even seen it, and it seemed so childish, I almost couldn't believe it. That's when I realized that I got it wrong before, about Summer taking the third spot in Mrs. Watanabe's dance piece. I had thought that the spot could have gone to Savannah, not Summer, but in Savannah's view, it wasn't Summer who had taken that spot from her. It was me. Charlotte's always the first to sign in, she had said. Savannah blamed me for taking her rightful spot in the dance. How we got off to an awkward start. All the next day, the threat of a snowstorm made everyone kind of giddy and uncertain since there was talk that the school would close early if it came down as bad as the forecast predicted. Luckily, because the last thing in the world I wanted was for our first rehearsal to be canceled, the snow only started falling in the late afternoon, not hard at all, so I made my way up to the performance space as quickly as I could before or after the last bell. Given that Mrs. Watanabe had issued such a threatening warning about being late, I wasn't surprised that both Summer and Jimena were already there too. We said hello to one another before changing into our dance clothes. It was a little awkward at first, I guess. The three of us had never really hung out together before. We were from different groups, our own version of mammals, reptiles, and fish. Summer and I had only one class together. And like I said before, I barely knew Jimena. The longest conversation we'd ever had was back in December in Ms. Rubin's class when she had asked me, without a shred of remorse, if I would mind switching partners with her so she could be paired up with Savannah, which is how I ended up with Remo as my science fair project partner, but that's a whole other story not worth telling. We started doing warm-ups and stretches to pass the time. Mrs. Watanabe was now almost half an hour late. Do you think this is how it's always going to be? Said Jimena mid-mop. Mrs. Watanabe being late? She's never on time to theater class, I said, shaking my head. Right? Jimena said, that's what I'm afraid of. Maybe she just got stuck in the snow, Summer said somewhat hopefully. It's starting to come down pretty hard now, I think. Jimena made a face. Yeah, maybe she needs a dog sled, she answered quickly. Ha ha ha, I laughed, but I could tell I sounded dorky. Please, God, please don't let me seem dorky in front of Jimena Chin. The truth is, Jimena Chin made me a little nervous. I don't know why exactly. It was just that she was so cool and so pretty, and everything about her was always so perfect. The way she wrapped her scarf, the way her jeans fit her, the way she fastened her hair in the neatest twist, everything was so flawless with her. I remember from the moment Jimena started at Beecher Prep this year, everybody had wanted to be her friend, including me. I'm sure she didn't even remember this, but I was the one who helped her find her locker on the first day of school. I was the one who let her borrow a pencil in third period, which she never returned to me, come to think of it. But Savannah was the one who became her best friend. Savannah managed to zoom in on her within the first nanosecond of school, and then forget it. It was like the Big Bang of friendships. It just exploded into an instantaneous universe of knowing looks and giggles and clothes and secrets. There was really no chance of getting to know Jimena better after that. The truth is, she didn't make much of an effort to expand beyond the Savannah group anyway. There was really no chance of getting to know Jimena better after that. The truth is, she didn't make much of an effort to expand beyond the Savannah group anyway. Maybe she felt like she didn't really have to. People said she was kind of a snob. All I really knew about her was that she had the most amazing leg extension I'd ever seen, the highest scores in our grade, and she was snarky, meaning she made a lot of clever observations about people behind their back. There were a bunch of people, like Maya, for instance, who couldn't stand her, but I couldn't wait to get to know her better. To be friends with her, maybe? To laugh at her sarcastic jibes? More than anything, though, I just really, really, really wanted her to like me. I hope this is all going to be worth the time suck, Jimena was saying. I mean, we've got so many other things going on this month. That science fair project. I haven't even started mine, said Summer. Me neither, I said, though actually that wasn't true at all. Remo and I had finished our diorama of a cell the first week back from winter break. I just want to make sure we get enough rehearsal time for this dance, Jimena said, looking at her phone. I don't want to be on stage at Carnegie Hall looking like a total idiot because we didn't rehearse enough. All because Mrs. Watanabe was too flaky to show up on time. You know, I said, trying to sound casual, if we ever need a place to rehearse away from school, you guys could come over to my house. I have a mirrored wall in my basement and a bar. My mom used to teach ballet out of our house. I remember your basement, said Summer cheerfully. You had that flower fairy birthday party there once. Back in the second grade, I answered, a little embarrassed she would mention flower fairies in front of Jimena. Do you live far from here? Jimena asked, scrolling through her texts. Just 10 blocks away. Okay, text me your address, she said. Sure, I said, whipping out my phone, thinking, I'm texting Jimena Chen my address like the big dork that I am. Sorry, what's your number? She didn't look up from her phone, but held her hand up to my face like a crossing guard. There, running vertically down the side of her palm, was her phone number written in neat block letters in dark blue pen. I keyed her number into my contacts and texted her my address. Hey, I said as I was texting, you guys could come over tomorrow after school if you want. We can start rehearsing then. Okay, Jimena mumbled casually, which made me want to gasp. Jimena Chin is coming over to my house tomorrow. Oh, I actually can't, said Summer, squinting her eyes apologetically. I'm hanging out with Augie tomorrow. What about Friday then? I asked. Can't, said Jimena. She had obviously finished texting now and looked up. Then maybe next week, I said. We'll figure out some other time, Jimena answered indifferently. She started running her fingers through her hair. I forget you're friends with the freak, she said to Summer, smiling. What's that like? I don't think she was even trying to be mean when she said this. That's really just how a lot of people automatically referred to Augie Pullman. I looked at Summer. Don't say anything, I thought, but I knew she would. How nobody gets mad at the lavender fairy. Summer sighed. Could you please not call him that? She asked almost shyly. Jimena acted like she didn't get it. Why? He's not here, she said, pulling her hair into a ponytail. It's just a nickname. It's an awful nickname, Summer answered. It makes me feel bad. Here's the thing with Summer Dawson. She has this way of talking where she can say stuff like this and people don't seem to mind. If I had said something like this, forget it. People would have been all over me about being a goody two-shoes. But when the lavender fairy does it, with her cute little eyebrows raised like smiles on her forehead, she doesn't come off as preachy. She just seems sweet. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, answered Jimena apologetically, her eyes open wide. I honestly wasn't trying to be mean, Summer, but I won't call him that again, I promise. She sounded like she was genuinely sorry, but there was something about her expression that always made you wonder if she was being completely sincere. I think it had something to do with the dimple in her left cheek. She almost couldn't help looking mischievous. Summer looked at her doubtfully. It's fine. I really am sorry, said Jimena, almost like she was trying to smooth out her dimple. Now Summer smiled. Totally cool beans, she said. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, answered Jimena, giving Summer a little squeeze. You really are a saint, Summer. For a second, I felt a quick pang of jealousy that Jimena seemed to like Summer so much. I don't think anyone should call him a freak either, I said absently. Now, here I have to stop and say something in my defense. I have no idea why I said that. It literally just came out of me, this stupid string of words hurling from my mouth like vomit. I knew immediately how obnoxious it made me sound. So you've never called him that? Jimena said, raising one eyebrow high. The way she was looking at me, it was like she was daring me to blink. I said. I could feel my ears turning red. No, I'm sorry I said it. Don't hate me, Jimena Chin. Let me ask you something, she said quickly. Would you go out with him? It was so out of the blue, I almost didn't know what to say. What? No, I answered immediately. Exactly, she said, like she had just proved a point. But not because of how he looks, I said, flustered, just because we don't have anything in common. Oh, come on, laughed Jimena. That's so not true. I didn't know what she was getting at. Would you go out with him? I asked. Of course not, she answered calmly, but I'm not about to be hypocritical about it. I glanced at Summer, who gave me an ouch, that hurts look. Hey, I don't want to be mean, continued Jimena matter-of-factly, but when you say, oh, I would never call him a freak, it totally makes me look like a jerk because I had obviously just called him that. And it's kind of annoying because everyone knows that Mr. Tushman asked you to be his welcome buddy, and that's why you don't call him a freak like everybody else does. Summer became friends with him without anyone forcing her to be his welcome buddy, which is why she's a saint. I'm not a saint, Summer answered quickly, and I don't think Charlotte would have called him that even if Mr. Tushman hadn't asked her to be a welcome buddy. See, you're being a saint even now, said Jimena. I don't think I would have called him a freak, I said quietly. Jimena crossed her arms. She was looking at me with a knowing smile. You know, you're nicer to him when you're in front of teachers, she said very seriously. It's been noticed. Before I could answer, not that I even knew what I would have answered, Mrs. Watanabe burst into the performance space through the double doors in the back of the auditorium. So sorry I'm late, so sorry I'm late, she announced breathlessly, covered in snow. She looked like a little snowman as she walked down the stairs carrying 4 ridiculously full tote bags. Jimena and Summer ran up the stairs to help her, but I turned around and walked out to the hallway. I pretended to drink at the water fountain, but what I really needed to gulp down was air. Ice cold air, because I could feel my cheeks burning, like they were on fire. It felt like I'd just gotten slapped in the face. I could see out the hallway window that the snow really was coming down hard now, and a part of me just wanted to run outside and ice skate away. Is that how other people saw me? Like I was this hypocritical fake or something? Or was that just Jimena being her typical snarky self? You're nicer to him when you're in front of teachers. It's been noticed. Is that true? Has it been noticed? I mean, there have been a couple of times when I was being especially nice to Augie Pullman because I knew it would get back to Mr. Tushman that I was being a good welcome buddy. Maybe. I don't know. But even if that were the case, At least I can say I've been nice to him. That's more than most people can say. That's more than Jimena can say. I still remember that the time she was partnered with Auggie in dance class and looked like she was about to throw up. I've never done anything like that to Auggie. Okay, so maybe I am a little nicer to Auggie when teachers are around. Is that so horrible? It's been noticed? What does that even mean? Noticed by who? Savannah? Ellie? Is that what they say about me? Is that what they were talking about in the lunchroom yesterday when they were so obviously talking about me that even Maya, who can be so clueless about social stuff, felt sorry for me? Here, this whole time, I had assumed that Jimena Chin didn't even know who I was, and now it turns out I've been noticed more than I ever wanted to be. How I received my first surprise that day. I walked back inside the performance space as Mrs. Watanabe finished unwrapping herself from all her wintry layers. Her coat, her scarf, and her sweater were all scattered around her on the floor, which was wet from the snow she had brought inside with her. Oh my gosh, she kept saying over and over again, fanning herself with both hands. It's really starting to come down now. She plopped onto the piano bench in front of the stage and caught her breath. Oh my gosh, I do hate being late. I saw Jimena and Summer exchange knowing looks. When I was little, Mrs. Watanabe continued, talking in that chatterbox way of hers that some people loved and some people thought made her seem crazy. My mother actually used to charge my sister and me $1 every time we were late for something. Literally, every time I was late, even if it was just for dinner, I had to pay my mom $1. She laughed and started redoing her bun, holding a couple of bobby pins in her teeth while she talked. When your entire allowance for the week is only $3, you learn to budget your time. That's why I'm conditioned to hate being late. And yet, Jimena pointed out, smiling in that sly way of hers, you were still late today. Maybe we should charge you $1 from now on. Ha ha ha, laughed Mrs. Watanabe good-naturedly, flicking off her boots. Yes, I was late, Jimena, and that's actually not a bad idea. Maybe I should give all three of you $1. Jimena kind of laughed, assuming she was joking. In fact, Mrs. Watanabe said, reaching for her pocketbook, I think I'm going to give each one of you girls $1 bill every time I'm late to a rehearsal from now on. That'll force me to be on time. Summer shot me a quizzical look. We started to realize that Mrs. Watanabe, who had pulled out her wallet, was serious. Oh no, Mrs. Watanabe, said Summer, shaking her head. You don't have to do that. I know, but I'm going to, answered Mrs. Watanabe, smiling. Now here's the rub. I'll agree to give each of you $1 every time I'm late to a rehearsal if you agree to give me $1 every time you're late for a rehearsal. Are you allowed to do that? Jimena asked incredulously, taking money from a student. I was thinking the same thing. Why not? Answered Mrs. Watanabe. You're in private school. You can afford it, probably more than I can. This last part she muttered, and then she started cracking up. Mrs. Watanabe was kind of famous for laughing at her own jokes. You pretty much had to get used to it. She pulled 3 crisp dollar bills out of her wallet and held them up in the air for us to see. So what do you say, girls? She said. Is it a deal? Jimena looked at both of us. I know I'm never going to be late, she said to us. I'm not going to be late either, said Summer. I shrugged, still unable to look Jimena in the eyes. Me neither, I said. Then it's a deal, said Mrs. Watanabe, walking over to us. For you, mademoiselle, she said to Jimena, handing her a spanking new dollar bill. Merci, said Jimena, shooting us a quick smile, which I pretended not to see. Then Mrs. Watanabe walked over to me and Summer. For you and for you, she said, handing us each a dollar bill. God bless America, we both answered at the same time. Wait, what? We looked at each other, our mouths and eyes open wide. Suddenly, everything that occurred in the last half hour seemed to lose any importance. If what I think just happened did just happen. The accordion man? I whispered excitedly. Summer gasped and nodded happily. The accordion man.